Shop at New City Mall and check out.
Jesus opened the eyes of the blind. He gave back to people the gift of sight. Vision is the faculty of sight. It is unusual competence in discernment or perception. That goes beyond looking at a thing. It is looking beyond a thing, looking into a thing, so that you have an unusual competence in the ability to discern what others miss. Webster says that a vision is a mental image produced by the imagination. Ah, it's deeper than that, Mr. Webster. He did the best he could. Vision has at its root, as we said on Xavier's Day, an idea. An idea is a well-developed thought. You know, in the comic books, whenever somebody had a brilliant thought or idea, they would put over the head a light, a bulb. That's it. Light got turned on in the guy's head. He saw something. He had an idea. But he really didn't have an idea. He had a thought. Because ideas are different from thoughts. Ideas, like thoughts, exist in the mind, potentially or actually as a product of mental activity. You can't have an idea or thought if your mind is not active. Brain waves on a machine that scans the activity of your mind, of your brain, shows an electrical energy in the brain that says this is alive. Electrical energy in the brain allows the brain to do what the brain is designed to do. Create thought, create image, create pictures. Listen, once you have a thought, that is a concept. When you say, sister has conceived, what do you mean? Sister has conceived. What do you mean? She's pregnant, right? Conception is not baby. The conception has all the necessary ingredients to make the baby. But now it needs a period of gestation and growth in the darkness of the womb so that conception becomes a fully developed child, baby, fetus. When thought germinates in the mind. If you don't continue to think on the thought, I want you to hear me. If you don't continue to think on the thought, then the thought without more thought only is a thought that comes and goes. And you will say when somebody else comes up with the thought but thinks on the thought, they stole my idea. They stole my stuff. They making the money and I ain't got none. Dirty, low-down thief. Wait a minute, fool. You don't have any corner on thought. You don't have any specific corner on imagery. Many of you have good thoughts, but you do nothing about what you think. So the thought was an opportunity that you blew because you didn't do by the thought what you should have done. You got to think on the thought. You have to think on the thought. And thinking on the thought is feeding the thought. Then the thought develops into an idea. And that idea has with it a plan, a scheme, a method of fulfilling and concretizing what was a mental image that had potential, but now you want to actualize what you have envisioned. But if you even develop the idea or the thought into an idea and still will not work the idea, then God will give the idea to somebody else who will fulfill the idea and fulfill the vision brought by the idea. After the thought brings up a concept you've conceived, most people talk the thought, and the thought gets lost. It's like showing the baby before the baby is a baby. Who wants to see a clot but an abortionist? And most times we get a thought, we speak it before we think on the thought. Get it developed. And it must develop in darkness, like the womb of the female, the womb of the mind. Develop your ideas. Then develop the method, the plan of execution. The idea will bring up a picture of the completed thing. The picture is in your brain. You can draw it on a piece of paper so that you can keep the vision before your eyes. But putting it on paper isn't actualizing the vision. The vision is only actualized when you bring it into concrete reality. How do you bring it into concrete reality? First, without faith, you can't work the vision. Even if you see it, you gotta now believe that you can bring it. Believe. Not only believe in God, but believe in yourself. Believe that you can do what you envision that must be done. But belief alone is not of of any value unless belief is translated into practice or work. And it is belief joined by work that concretizes vision. Now, Jesus opened the eyes of the blind.
Greetings, beloved. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is but one God. Welcome to the Black Agenda on this Saturday morning, March the 5th, 2022. I am Brother David Muhammad, and I'm going to be here in studio with you up to 9 o'clock this morning, inshallah. And in a short while from now, I will open up the telephone lines and take your calls on 3420081 and 4665391. And you can send WhatsApp messages directly to me on 3320214. And we're also on the Facebook and YouTube pages of the Street 919 FM. Now, beloved family, I mean, there's so much to talk about, and obviously I'm not going to talk about everything. So let's just get a few things out of the way. Peace and blessings to Trinidad and Tobago. Our society is troubled. The crime rate is peculiar. It's peculiar. Some of the kinds of crimes that are being committed. But I maintain my position that the street criminal who snatches a gold chain or takes a wallet is no less moral than the directors on boards, the elected officials, the parliamentarians, or whoever it is who is using their influence to perpetrate a corruption on the entire country. And for as long as we take this haughty opinion, approach, attitude, that some criminals are less moral than other criminals, especially if the criminals that you're judging in particular are the ones whose behavior is more shaped by their circumstances as opposed to their greed. Some of the criminals in this country have enough wealth to sustain their next 10 generations. But they're motivated by their greed. And they will take from poor people and continue taking from poor people to satisfy their greed. Those are the greedy criminals. Other criminals in this country, their motivation is shaped by their circumstances, partly due to the harsh conditions that have been created by the greedy. So the needy feel the impact of the decision making of the greedy, but society has been programmed to only point a finger at the needy and excuse the greedy. It's a shame. Trinidad and Tobago, to me, is the most classist society in all of the English-speaking Caribbean. And that classism, unfortunately, is sustained by some of its own victims. It's a sad situation. So peace to Trinidad and Tobago. I want to thank everyone who came out and supported African Expo number 11 last weekend, last Saturday. Number 12 will come up sometime in May, inshallah. Of course, once again, we'll be having our African Unity Conference in May, most likely May 28th. We want you to put that date down on your calendar. And then last week, Sunday, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan addressed the world with the message entitled The Swan Song. Minister Farrakhan, at just a few days from 89 years old, spoke for almost 5 hours. Powerful. Powerful. And as time rolls by, we're going to be analyzing some of the ideas from the minister. Of course, COVID restrictions have been loosened up a bit, and we welcome that. Of course, we're still very, very far behind, because some of the, if you don't laugh, you'll cry, but all right, okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Like, it's very, very, very far behind, but we're getting there. But last week, I remember saying, in light of the Ukraine situation, and I saw a press conference, a post-cabinet press conference this week, and members of government were saying, oh, we found the Trinidadian in the Ukraine, and he's gone to the Polish border. He got through, and from Poland, he's now in Hungary, and we're tracking him. We're making sure he's okay, and he'll be back soon. Okay, good. I like that. But last week, I had said that there are 12 Trinidadians still in Syria who are desperately trying to get home back to Trinidad and Tobago, and are being ignored by the government. I come this week before you to correct my mistake from last week, because I was visited by a small team at the Kwame Ture Center with the facts on this matter. It's not 12. For now, I'm just going to focus on the children, but there are 72. Listen to what I'm saying. There are 72 Trinidadian children in Syria right now who are living in conditions arguably much worse than the situation at the Ukrainian border. 72 Trinidadian children. Of these 72 Trinidadian children, of whom efforts are being made to get them back home, 33 of them were born in Syria. I want you to think about this. 72 Trinidadian children at a camp called Al-Hol. 33 of them born over there to Trinidadian parents, innocent children who have absolutely nothing to do with why they are over there. 33 of them born to Trinidad and Tobago citizens who by parentage are Trinidadian citizens as well. Now, they're living in camps under tents that flood, that freeze, and also experience scorching temperatures. If you know the weather patterns out there, there are extreme fluctuations of scorching heat and freezing cold. They're literally living like animals. Now, I hope to do a television program on this soon when I get the digital documents. But I was shown photographs of all of these children, their names, their dates of birth, who was born in Tunapuna, who was born in Arima, who was born in Laventil, who was born in Couva, who was born in Point Fortin or San Fernando, who was born in Port of Spain, Trinidadians. And they're out there in these desert camps, filthy, garbage infested, rat infested, living like savages. And one of the sad things is the way they operate out there. When the males get to the age of 12, they send them to these juvenile detention centers, which are called de-radicalization camps. Now, among the documents that I have in my possession, apparently around 2019, a number of talks took place with government officials on getting them back. This would have been around the time when the rock singer Roger Waters of the band Pink Floyd, who is one of the most progressive, successful music bands ever. As a matter of fact, they have an album entitled Dark Side of the Moon that has broken the record for the most amount of weeks on the album chart. I think, I'm not sure exactly what the figures are, but it's something like almost 20 years on the chart. Imagine one album, almost 20 years on the charts. And still selling today, Dark Side of the Moon. So, this rock singer, Roger Waters, stumbled across this story in England and through his own resources repatriated 2 of the young men back to Trinidad and Tobago. 2 of the children. But there are 72 others. Now, there's one particular Newsday article which quotes Minister Stuart Young. I'm not sure what his capacity was at the time. Might have been Minister of National Security, denying confirmation that there are any Trinidadian children in that camp. And he named the camp Al-Hol in Syria. But 72 Trinidadian children. But we can track so perfectly to a T where the Trinidadian in the Ukraine is. And the other sad thing about this is, to our understanding, we have all the documents. United Nations have urged countries to receive back their citizens. And most of the other countries around the world have taken back their citizens. What is it about us? It reminds us of when the pandemic first started and there was a plane load of Trinidadians in Barbados, and we were saying, no, we're not taking them back, Barbados, you keep them. But they're our responsibility. But while that whole Barbados scene was taking place, this Syria scene was already in motion, and talks were happening. Most of the other countries have taken back their citizens, but something about Trinidad and Tobago, we say we don't want ours. 72 children. Now, apparently, when I mentioned it last week and spoke about 12 children, because I met with one of the parents about 2 weeks ago. But yesterday, here now, all the documents were brought in, because it's like other people heard about what was spoken about and said, okay, it's good that someone's talking about it, but that's just a fraction of what's happening. It is said that these children, Trinidadian children out there, that the way they're being raised is, think about it, 5-year-olds, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, when they hear like the engine of a car or a car horn, they run and hide under a chair or a table. Have no idea. In this world in 2022, no idea about certain things like computers and, oh God. And they have them out there in that desert like savages. These concentration camps that are controlled by America and the Kurds. It is evil. So like I said, I'm waiting to get some of these documents in digital form to do a television program on Gael on my Sunday evening program from 8 p.m. Hopefully by next weekend I can do that. But it's a hell of a situation. But what was most disturbing about it was the news clippings of our government officials denying it. It's just so sick. And brings me to Ukraine, a question. Brother Fazir Muhammad on TV6, I was on the morning edition about 2 weeks back, I think it was, to speak about the African Expo, and he asked me a question at the very beginning about the home invasions. You know, and what came to mind was the fact that in the Ukraine, you have these citizens. You have citizens of the Ukraine who live outside of the Ukraine, who are willing to go back to their country, take up a gun as civilians, amateurs, non-trained combatants, non-combatants, because of how they love their country. They're willing to leave wherever they live, England or France or America or Italy or Spain, and travel back to the Ukraine, pick up a gun, join the army, and fight for their country. And I ask us, how many Trinidadians do you think feel that way about this country? And you know what? I could put up my hand because I'm living here. Most of my opportunities are overseas. But I've chosen to live here and fight for this country, which is what I do every day, fight for this country. But how many Trinidadians do you think would feel the same way about this country as those Ukrainians in foreign countries feel about the Ukraine? This country where there's almost a daily message to the poor masses: we don't care about you. We love the Syrians, the white people, the Chinese. We will do all that we can to empower them, make them richer, and after we make them richer again, protect their privilege, preserve their status, and maintain the status quo with them on top. And all of the poor people in the country, you are a poor man driving on the road, you hit a pothole, your light goes out, and you get a ticket for it. You have to pay. All kinds of harsh and draconian attitudes towards the masses. I mean, look at the entire pandemic period. You see, you can't erase this history. It's so ugly about us. From day one, I remember. From day one. Back then, I used to do the Black Agenda program in the night. Day one of the pandemic, I remember 4 contracts being given to private security companies to drive around the town for however many millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars it was. It started off that way. Do you know SWAT Security, African-owned security company in this country, is the most well-equipped security force in Trinidad and Tobago? Did you know that? But the Syrian-owned company does 100% of the work with the prisons for, it was up to $80 million a year. Do you remember that when the pandemic first started, that story with the different security companies that they just, it was as if, I mean, first of all, everyone's supposed to be inside, there's curfew, whatever, and you hire four security companies to patrol what? To patrol where? It's like we sit down and think in circles behind closed doors among the decision makers. Okay, we already know that they're rich, but we have a problem on our hands. We need to get them richer. We already know they have hundreds of millions. We need to get more hundreds of millions for them. What can we do? I have an idea. What? Let's just hire some security companies to patrol, just drive up and down the street, and let's give them more millions like that. We could do that. Good idea. You swear that's how some of these discussions behind closed doors go. Then next was this thing about food. So all the poor people selling street food. You can't sell food, but the big supermarket owners taking the same street food, packaging it, and they can sell it now. And from day one of the pandemic. Do you remember the little youths in C-lots? They out there having their good time or whatever, tracked down, hunted down, made to lie face down in the dirt with guns pointed to their backs and to apologize to the commissioner of police and apologize for breaking the curfew rules. Same week, over 100 of the 1% people gathering in a church, police parked up quietly, politely outside, watching it all take place. How much of that did you see so-called zessers handcuffed, arrested, thrown in the back of a van? And then the local white people laughing, jam-packed parties, and making videos on camera saying, this is our place. You can't come in here. Ha ha ha. And then politicians and police officials making excuses for them, but ready to kick down the door of poor people to arrest them, embarrass them, humiliate them. How much of that have we witnessed? Now, that is the tone, the character of this society right now. How many people do you think, based on how this society is structured, based on basic principles of social inclusion, based on principles of equality of opportunity for the masses of the people, how many people do you think, if Trinidad and Tobago was in a crisis, would feel as if they are so much a part of this society that they'll be willing to take up a gun as a civilian and fight for this country? No, but you know what they'll do? They'll take up a gun as a civilian to rob another Trinidadian just like them. They'll take up a gun and team up with some like-minded individuals and perpetrate a daylight robbery, not even wondering what the consequences may be. Home invasions, just going in people's houses. And that's another thing, another example. They say there were 18 home invasions for the year, up to when that one in Westmoreland took place, which was about 2 weeks ago now. So it's probably more than that by now at that rate. But in East Port of Spain, for years now, we've been hearing about home invasions and the victims going to the police station in person and telling the police, they are there in my home right now as we speak. Please help me. And for some reason, I'm still trying to understand that one. For some reason, they just don't go. You experience that. How much part of the country do you feel? And so the whole world is watching the Ukraine border. Okay. All right. What's your opinion, Mr. African Trinidadian? What is your opinion about what's happening over there? Are we going to listen to a press conference from the United States or the United Kingdom and replicate what they have to say and regurgitate their worldview? There is blatant, cruel, direct, and unapologetic racism by the Ukrainian people at the borders against African people, among all of those who have been trying to flee the country. There's bitter, cold-hearted, rabid racism against African people. News reporters openly lamenting the fact that it is white people who are dying. Government officials being interviewed, Ukrainian government officials lamenting that this is happening to people with blonde hair and blue eyes. Meanwhile, they're trying to flee and they're pushing back the Africans. I mean, you could be racist at any other time. You choose a moment like this to be racist? So many reports of African women being told by these Ukrainian guards or the police or the transportation workers, you can't come in here. Imagine African women being told, no, we're putting the women and the children on first. And women say, but I am a woman. And then they say, sorry, not you. Leaving them for dead, but expect the same people to don a Ukrainian flag and feel sympathy over there. How can I not make it my primary priority to feel the pain of my own flesh and blood? You want me to ignore that murderous racism against African people and jump on the bandwagon and talk about Putin and Russia? It's that kind of blindness that has us in the problems that we're in today. Journalists openly making these subconscious racist statements, and these are foreign journalists or from outside of the Ukraine, saying things like, but this what is happening here, it's not Middle Eastern people or African people or third world people, it's happening to Europeans, and it's so terrible. You see, and they're not even thinking at the moment while they're speaking, but their true heart is being revealed and exposed. That is so terrible that it is white people who have to flee. And what is particularly ironic about this is the fact that as black people, we are usually stereotyped, profiled, as being subhuman in one way or another, or savage. Yeah, we're the savage, but they are the beast. You cannot change the nature of a beast, but you can reform the savage. Another discussion for another time. Teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But the irony of this is they always profile us and stereotype us, but the Africans that they are discriminated against at the Ukrainian border are among the best examples of fine, intelligent, progressive citizens out of all of the people in the Ukraine. Young, brilliant Africans, young, bright scholars, university students out there in the Ukraine, topping those universities in Europe, studying medicine, studying engineering, coming from places like Nigeria and Ghana and Cameroon. 21 years old, 22 years old, 23 years old. And they're out there. And some Nazi, that's what I said. Yep, that's what I said. Preventing them from getting to their freedom. I don't think I'm going to leave that one hanging at all. But I want to open the lines. But you see that? Listen, Putin of Russia, devils on both sides as far as I'm concerned. But Putin of Russia, he said he outlined two objectives. He said he wanted to demilitarize the Ukraine and denazify the Ukraine. What? Denazify? And that is one aspect of this that the Western media has swept under the rug. The one people that you cannot offend on public social media are the Jews. And here Putin is saying he wants to demilitarize the Ukraine. Okay, we understand that. Because the way I see it, I have stayed in a hotel in Detroit a good couple times where I look out the window and I see Canada. I see Windsor. Stayed there about 3 times, either twice or 3 times, going to the annual Nation of Islam convention, which is usually in Chicago, but it's been in Detroit about 3 times over the last 10 years, right? So I go to Detroit and I'm on this high floor I look out the hotel room. In fact, I think I did a video in the early days of social media of doing videos on Facebook and saying, look. In fact, I have to search for that video. I was out the window, standing by the window, and I said, look, I'm in Detroit, USA. Look out the window there. That's Windsor, Canada. It's coming back to me now. And I said, you can drive back and forth between Windsor in Canada and Detroit in America. You could literally go for a walk across the border. But go down to the Mexican border, and it's barbed wire fence and security soldiers patrolling with shotguns. Says something. But imagine, right? You in Detroit, and you're looking out your window and you're seeing Canada literally across the road. And imagine if someone like China or even Russia were to set up a missile base with about 200 nuclear weapons or high-powered missiles pointing right down the border, right across the road, pointing into America. What do you think America would do? Well, we already know what they'll do. Well, that is the position that the Russians are taking. If NATO allows Ukraine to become a full member, it is like bringing a military threat right to their border. Meanwhile, Ukraine is unhappy with NATO because they're not allowing them into full membership, nor the EU, because they don't want a mass migration of Eastern Europeans because they scorn the Romanians and the Polish in Western Europe. That's their own internal ethnocentrism. But the Nazi party from Hitler has remained an influential force in the Ukraine. It's rough, beloved. It's rough. I'll get into that probably on another occasion. So I, as a black man, right now, have to be more concerned about the Africans that they want to turn back into a situation of death on the border of Ukraine. Let me open up the phone lines. 342-0081, 466-5391. It's 10 minutes before 8 o'clock. So let's go to the lines. Caller, are you there? Oh, no. Hold on, caller, hold on. None of this stuff is connected here. I don't have a clue what's happening. Right, can you hear me now? Caller? Caller, are you there? I'm hearing you, but just not through the system. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, Mohammed.
Oh, yes, sir.
Good morning. I listen to you right to what you're saying.
Oh, no. Sorry about that, caller. Yes, good morning.
Yeah, morning.
Yeah, to the last caller, apologies. Please try to call back.
Yeah. Yeah, Mohammed?
Yes, sir.
You see, right now, we Trinidad, the African man fighting down the African man for the Indian and all them other countries. So you have to write all them African UNC. They're fighting the African man. All them African UNC. They're using the African day. Like there are no sense and no things. Thank you, African integration in this country. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your call. Caller, good morning.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Brother David Mohammed, it disgusts me to see and to hear Africans in Trinidad and Tobago, after seeing what's taking place in Ukraine, something that we should look at go and help Ukraine in the fight against Russia.
Who said that?
I have people on the street saying that the Africans to support Ukraine against Russia. Russia, a country who never colonized the African continent. Russia is a country where some of we leaders, former leaders, they didn't take the communist side, but they take the revolution side, the idea of the revolution from Russia. PLR James and them fellas and them are coming to me.
Yeah.
Red Africans in China, they know that. You understand? They didn't adopt the communist governance or the thing, but the idea of revolutionary. I'm just saying, we have people in China here. We'll go in America.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
Let's go. See when I tell you what I tell you. See when I tell you what I tell you. See when I tell you what I tell you. What I tell you, what I tell you, what I tell you, what I tell you. Let's go. Let's go. We are something special. Very special. Something special. We are something special. Very special. Something special. See when I tell you, when I tell you, no, no. See when I tell you, when I tell you, no, no. See when I tell you, when I tell you, no, no. Very special. No, no. See when I tell you, what I tell you, no, no. See when I tell you, when I tell you, no, no. It seems like forever and a day we've been on this ride. And all the things that you do for me, my gratitude I can hide. And all the ups and downs turn around, you're always right by my side. And now I'm walking and standing tall and holding my head up high. When you turn down, you turn around. Take my front, turn it upside down. Take my words and you make a song. Take my short and you make it long. Keep my feet firmly on the ground. When I'm weak, yeah, you make me strong. So for you now, I sing this song. Everybody hands up and sing it with me. We are something special, very special, something special. We are something special, very special, something special. See when I tell you, when I tell you, no, no. See when I tell you, when I tell you, no, no. See when I tell you, when I tell you, no, no. Very special, no, no. See when I tell you, what I tell you, no, no. See when I tell you, when I tell you, no, no. Where we going, where we going, where we going? We up and down, we all around. We going country, we going down. We going east, we going west. You know we friendship, it is the best. We up and down, we all around. We going country, we going down. We going down to the ground, 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 to the ground. We are something special, very special, something special. We are something special, very special, something special. See when I tell you, when I tell you, no, no. See when I tell you, when I tell you, no, no. See when I tell you, when I tell you, no, no. Very special, no, no. See when I tell you, what I tell you, no, no. See when I tell you, when I tell you, no, no. When I tell you, when I tell you, I tell you, when I tell you. I say what I tell you, when I tell you. I mean it. When I tell you, what I tell you, when I tell you. I mean it. I'm telling you what I tell you, when I tell you, when I tell you, what I tell you. I mean it. Looking for a safe and relaxed professional massage therapist and nutritionist? Look no further. Nature's Touch with Empress Judy and Associates offers a natural approach to better health. Treat yourself to a professional massage therapy and nutrition advice in a safe and relaxed atmosphere. Rejuvenate your body, mind, and soul at Nature's Touch Therapy. For an appointment, please call
or WhatsApp 1-868-398-8282 or visit our Facebook page. Remember, your health is our responsibility at Nature's Touch.
Tune into the Street 919 FM this and every Thursday for the program Conscious Talk. Conscious Talk. Where we are at and where we are going with Steve Antoine as regards the land space for the celebration of Emancipation Day. Every Thursday from 10:25 a.m. to 10:55 a.m. It's Conscious Talk on the Street 919 FM.
From the studio to the stage, every Friday between 3 to 4 p.m. Right here on the Street 919 FM. Radio you can see. Log on to our Facebook and YouTube so you can see live interviews and performances from some of our very own local superstars. Right here on the Street 919 FM.
Blessings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You are invited to listen to the Final Hour broadcast heard every Monday from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. in the morning on the Street 919 FM radio. Here my mom, Pastor Helen Garcia, and myself, Pastor Valentine Garcia Jr., preach the Word of God to the elderly, youth, and children. We can be contacted at 629-0113 or 623-8444. The church is located at 26 Prince Street in Port of Spain. We look forward to you joining us. God bless you.
As my life I lay it on the altar, as my life.
Better vision for your physical eyes, and through the eyes of faith, let healing arise in your mind, body, and spirit. At Natural Healing Ministries, we teach kingdom principles for living that brings the blessing of God to your mind, body, and soul.
NHM Professional Associates are located at number 10 Moody Stewart Street, Monterey Post.
Doctors Desmond and Angina Phillips present a series of healing retreats from February 27th to Sunday 6th March at the Eco Resort in Toko. This includes delicious healthy foods, refreshing healing drinks, learn DIY healing techniques, mini seminars, and natural therapies. Price plans are for cost and full coverage excluding transport. Select plans. One day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at $600. Monday 28th February, Tuesday 1st March, Wednesday 2nd March, and Sunday 6th March. One night, one day from 5 p.m. cost $1,100. Sunday 27th February, Monday 28th February, and Tuesday 1st March, or 2 days, 2 nights from 5 p.m. That costs $2,100. Sunday 27th of February and Tuesday 1st March. For more information, reservations, and
share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory.
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
So there's a need for brotherhood.
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen. Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
Brotherhood is demanded.
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory.
Brotherhood is essential, it is urgent, and it is compulsory. But the time demands brotherhood. Whenever the dominant white society fears for its economic future, racial tensions are always aggravated. The aim of Almighty God is to bring the black man and woman together. The aim of Almighty God is that we, no matter how divided we have been in the past, must experience unity in order to gain the success that we seek and the progress that we desire. There is no way that a divided people can build a future. Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. So there's a need for brotherhood. But if you walk the earth proud and arrogant, you never learn your lesson because you think you already know. And how the hell could you know and be in the shape that we're in? How can there be any brotherhood if there's not even the honoring of a word?
Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen. Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen. Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
But the Quran and the Bible bear witness that the heavens and the earth were created with truth.
Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory. Brotherhood is essential. It is urgent and it is compulsory. I feel that every man that wants to speak should have the right. And if you think you know it better, get on up and get on and do the job. But if you don't know what to do, and all your mouth is able to do is condemn and criticize, but you have no works to show the rightness of your philosophical adherence, then maybe you should rethink your position.
Welcome back and welcome to the second hour of the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. We're going up to 9 o'clock. My deepest apologies to the last caller who was cut off. Please try to call back. All right? So I just want to substantiate just a little bit, then I'm going to go straight back to the phones. We're going to be taking your calls on 342-0081 and 466-5391. So, President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, said he wants to demilitarize Ukraine. We understand that part. But then he says he wants to denazify Ukraine. Why is all the attention on the demilitarized part, but the most sensitive issue on social media, the Jewish Holocaust? How could this man say that he wants to denazify Ukraine and everyone just ignore that? Very, 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 very strange. So this goes back to Poland around World War II. And the majority of Ukrainians during World War II fought alongside the Soviets, the Russians. But then you have Western Ukraine and Eastern Ukraine, which basically Western Ukraine is considered to be pro-Europe, pro-Western Europe. And Eastern Ukraine is considered to be pro-Soviet or pro-Russian. Just like East Germany and West Germany. West Germany, from West Berlin, go west, was pro-Europe, while East Germany, from East Berlin, go east, was pro-communist. Until the Berlin Wall came down in 1989, and then there was the reunification of Germany. So long ago in the World Cup or in world football, you used to have West Germany, you used to have East Germany, two separate countries. Then from 1990, they became one country. Now it's just Germany. So ideologically, Ukraine is like that. West Ukraine is pro-Europe, East Ukraine is pro-Soviet. But around 1942, an independent Ukrainian insurgent army emerged. And they were established as an underground movement that had this objective of Ukraine being not just a separate independent state, but an ethnic state. Now look at how deep this is, because you already know that the Nazis believed in a master race of white people. Here you had a Ukrainian group that believed in the same thing but were not necessarily on the side of the Nazis. So again, I want to disabuse us of this view that only Hitler was racist. All of them were /are. So this organization of Ukrainian nationalists that wanted a white, pure white Ukrainian ethnic state developed as a military force in Poland. And they had their objectives. So you had these two groups. You had the Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists, and then you had the United or the Ukrainian Insurgent Army. So these two military forces of Ukrainians emerged. And from mid-1943 until the end of World War II in 1945, the Ukrainian Insurgent Army carried out massacres of ethnic Polish people, killing around 100,000 civilians. At first, the Polish government welcomed them. Then they turned their particular internal ethnocentrism, and they organized massacres. These are the Ukrainians. And then they started pushing the same kind of Nazi ideology. We want a pure white country. Ethnic Ukrainians. They saw themselves as a specific white tribe. Think about this. What is the anthropological name for white people? It is Caucasians. Caucus, Asians. They're not Asians. So how come they're called a certain kind of Asian? They're not from Asia. But you have the Caucasus Mountains in the eastern region of Europe, around Russia. So their history begins as Asians from the Caucasus Mountains who came out of the original people. They fled that way. White people did not originate in Europe. They originated in the original lands of the original people, but were driven out. So caucus, you know what a caucus is. So it's a caucus of Asians from the Caucasus Mountains. And then they were there, bound up, and then came out in different European tribes. And from day one, there was an ethnic supremacy, a white supremacy, an internal racism. They already hated black people, but even among themselves, they had ideas of racial superiority and supremacy. So the Ukrainian people in Poland, remember Ukraine wasn't an independent country, they got independence 100 years ago, and then they got it again 100 years later, around 1991. So here they are now, trying to establish this Nazi-type state. And after World War II, the Ukrainian insurgent army continued to fight against Russia. The war was over, but they're still fighting Russia until the 1950s. And at the same time, the Ukrainian Liberation Army, the other nationalist movement, fought alongside them with the Nazis. And in total, the number of ethnic Ukrainians who fought in the ranks of the Soviet army is estimated at 4.5 million to 7 million. And the pro-Soviet partisan guerrilla resistance in the Ukraine is estimated at 47 or 48,000 from the start of its occupation. And fighting against them was the Ukrainian Liberation Army, two organizations, and the Ukrainian Insurgents, the Organization of Ukrainian Insurgents. And some Western Ukrainians who had only joined the Soviet Union in 1939 hailed the Nazis as their liberators. Now, these are the ones who were against the Russians. Interesting that Western Europe was against the Nazis, but the Ukrainian nationalists, the Ukrainian Liberation Army, who wanted a pure white state, they continued fighting against the Russians even after the war was over. Remember, the distinction that we make between Russia and England is that Russia never colonized any part of Africa. Interesting thing about Germany did colonize parts of Africa. But after slavery was over, remember the Berlin Conference was 1884, and they carved up Africa, as they wrote in their history, they carved up Africa like a cake. And Germany took parts under Bismarck, took parts of Cameroon and the Congo and Namibia, where they had another Holocaust before the Jewish Holocaust. Hundreds of thousands of Namibian children killed by the Germans, and some of the most brutal types of enslavement. So the Ukrainians were fighting alongside the Germans against the Russians. And even when Germany stopped fighting against the Russians, as the Nazis, the Ukrainian Liberation Army continued. They wanted a white state. Now remember, all this time they're absorbed into Poland, they're absorbed into Russia before independence again in 1991. So when Putin says he wants to demilitarize the Ukraine and also denazify the Ukraine, he's referring to those Ukrainian insurgents who wanted to establish a white state since they were part of Poland, and that apparently still have some kind of influence today. All right, so let's go back to the phone lines. 342-0081 and 466-5391. So my deepest apologies again to that last caller who was on the line just before we cut to the break. Please try and call back. Caller, good morning.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Muhammad, brother. You preach, brother, you preach. You know, you haven't heard any media raise the issue that you are raising here. They will wait until Trisha point a bacchanal, and all of them start getting to that, join into that kind of bacchanal. The Germans, it's a part in Namibia. It's a camp they had down there right next to the sea. You know what they said do, the Namibians and there? Throw them a shark, something they call it, throw them over into the sea for the shark to eat them. These Germans, they understand that they're talking about. These Europeans, Brother David, it's not easy, Brother David, it hurt me. When I see, you see, my mother says, say, hard as a steel, you understand? When you try to educate your people, somehow or the other, if it comes from the Europeans, they don't accept it or they don't believe it. You understand? Imagine that the people running from the war in Ukraine, black people are being denied, you understand, the right to escape the war that is taking place in Ukraine by the white people. Imagine that students, women, you understand, are being denied that right to escape that. And this is the people that we are dealing with. But you see, Brother David, there's a thing that I always say, no, when you control a people's mind, you control the whole people, you know. Once you control somebody's mind, that's it, you know. And if you look at something, you understand, how the Europeans have control of the African mind from that slavery, it continues up to today.
Of course it continues.
You know? Yeah, because I look at it, when they were here, man, it's a sad thing, you know, if you don't get into it and understand it, it's a sad thing, you know. But they rape our great-great-great-grandparents, great-great and nieces, you understand, they rape them, you understand. When they make children, they christen them, they find a way, you understand, to keep them in slave and control. They christen them, they educate them to serve them, you understand. When they're done, they employ them and pay them. When they're dead, they bury you, you understand. The education they give you is to serve them. They come now, I hear they talking about the church here. It reminds me of Dr. Henry Clark, you understand, when he said, you understand, they were bleeding the people. You see, they cried out now and saying that COVID, all the time they say one with COVID, but COVID have a what? Something, COVID playing a part on the couple. You know, it's on the papers, they have not seen it on the papers, said by the Archbishop. So they want waste, so they're bleeding the people, understand? But our people have to understand that unless we don't come together as people, we should be signing up about the racism that is taking place against Africans in Ukraine, you know. At the border, we should be people around the world should sign up and protesting against that, you understand? Because it's wrong. But I wanted to say, yes, last week, after I made a comment, I heard a comment coming from a guy, and I always hear him on the station. But let me go into that, because that is important. Here what is happening. He's talking about the land that they're protesting for, that Mr. Manning gives to the cane farmers. That is the land. But I want to tell him something. Mr. Manning made a mistake there by not giving land to those who cultivated the land.
Yeah, and there's evidence that he acknowledged the mistake as well.
Exactly. And here what's happening, Brother David, let's talk about land. Go up on the stretch, going to Sandy Grande. That they call that the basin. Dry season, rainfall, and they always had water. What do? They cut down the forest, they burn it. You understand? And then they start to go inside the forest and put on like shack and thing. Go and see what it is today. On the right-hand side, right-hand when it's going up, they go deep inside a certain part of the state, and down inside, they go see them down inside, down there, it's occupying and stealing the land. You understand? That is what it is they're doing. And when we, you understand, make demand, you understand, for what is rightfully ours, you understand, people say all kinds of things. But we not, you know, our people, but you see, you have already gone down into history as a great teacher, you understand? But it's not, that struggle is not an easy struggle to our people. And if you see the youth, I also have to say the youth is who we have to concentrate on. We must stay with the youth and educate them from now, you understand? So that they will get over this ignorance of our people. You're talking to people, big people, and you understand, and like in a different world or some kind of thing. They don't understand what they're saying because of that teaching they get European into them, Brother David. I know the time that we showed as a saver could afford, you'd have a program, a special program, because I know those that started coming in the program now and cut it up and people want to make serious contribution cannot get in. I have a copy of they talk about Lavantil and the negative about Lavantil. I'm going to print a copy of a paper and drop it for you and drop it for you to see who is Lavantil. When I talk about criminal and criminal, see who is Lavantil. So you wouldn't and they are Lavantil, you understand? See, Dr. Henry Pierre, they are Lavantil. See, all those businessmen in town today, they went through Lavantil. It's Nelson Street boys. I was taught, you understand, by Didier, you understand? Those are Lavantil. I wanted to see that I'll do a copy and I'll do it for you, and one for the sister also. Have a good day, my brother.
Right, yes. All right, thank you. Let me say good morning to the sister. Oh, I should have asked you. I know you left something for her. I still have to locate it, all right? So if you can give me some information on that again. As you know, we just finished tiling the auditorium, the main auditorium of the Kwame Ture Center, almost 4,000 square feet. And needless to say, we had to clear out the entire auditorium and then put everything back. It was quite an exercise, but for those of you who came to the African Expo last week, you'd have seen the beauty of the inside of the main auditorium now, the additional beauty that has been added. Caller, good morning.
Present, good morning, Brother David.
Good morning to you.
Very good topic this morning, unity.
Alhamdulillah.
Unity. And I am shaking while I speak to you. Because I have had contacts. You know, we have had a German embassy in Trinidad for more than 50 years. Are you aware of this?
I'm not.
My husband worked with them from 1970 to 2021. And I used to call him Nazi. But he was a very nice person. He has never struck me or anything like that. I think I told you he passed in December. So here in this topic this morning about the Germans,
oh boy,
it has me shaking. But he did 50 years without going to another job. And he passed while he was there. But I have a little problem with them, the locals now. I don't know if I should tell you on the phone or... I don't care because my husband is dead. I can't do anything.
Go ahead.
Yeah. He got sick with lung cancer. And for 3 months, he was getting a little pension from them. I will tell you exactly how much. I think $1,600. When he was a Trinidadian, and he should have gone to local services and get $2,500. But he adored these people. He loved them. He worked with them. He was French and Negro, French and African. Right. He was very fair. I am dark with Indian and real mixed with people. And he worked with them. You know, 3 months when this guy was lying on his bed sick, they stopped the boy pension. They stopped it and telling they can't afford to pay it. And I wonder, how could they do something? But thank God, I am in my 70s now, and I can save. I saved the day. I must say I saved the day. But why I'm bringing this up is what we used to know about Germany. But I want to tell people, let's unite, love one another as I have loved you. And anyone going to work in a foreign firm, read between the lines. Because my husband was very private. He never told me how much was his salary, anything. He lived his life and I lived mine. Praise God. And I have a property in Twin City. I feel proud. It's not the best. It's dilapidated. It needs a lot of work. But I have children. I guess they will now make it look like something. But the story about the Germans in the past, having known these people for all these years, I must say the previous ones, they were adorable. His boss is not our wedding. The good thing about it, the new chancellor, she came and she gave a talk at his funeral too. I appreciate that. So the money I talk about that he didn't get, that's under the bridge. But I'm telling people, whenever you're going for a job in a foreign company, read the contract and don't take any meager pension. Go to our people, social services, and try to be you, and you will have a better life. Plenty I could say, but Brother David, I still have your necklace.
You still have what, sorry?
Your necklace, your African.
Oh.
You see, since my husband died, I have become introverted. I'm hardly going out. I don't drive. I don't do anything. But I promise you, one day you will get it. You will get it. You will get it. Don't give up on me. Even my phone, I don't even have a proper cell phone. I use the landline every time I have to call. but I love listening to you, and I make sure that I sit by this radio every morning. And God bless you, and I know you had a one who passed through, and I hope you're getting stronger like me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
We have to be strong for each other. God does not fail, and He will open more way for everyone. We have to face death eventually. We have to. People, just make sure, and when your person dies, give them a good order, send away. And God will always be with us. Like my husband got a nice send-off at the St. John's the Baptist Church in St. John Road, and I cherish the moments. Yes, God, love. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope nobody believes me for what I said, but anyway, I am independent. I have my life to live, and I love listening to you. That's the important thing. Knowledge is power.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, beloved sister. And you know, I'm realizing it's almost impossible to, avoid the painful memories of the loss of a loved one, in particular a son. Because looking at TV6 News a couple days ago, it wasn't yesterday, it was Thursday, I saw the funeral for young shining star Dion Lendo. Now, Dion Lendo is a Trinidad and Tobago Olympic medalist. He won a bronze medal in the relay, would have been the 4x100 or 400 relay in the 2012 Olympics. Now, Dion Lendo was born 11 days before my son, and he died 6 days before my son died. But his funeral was only held on Thursday. Now, both him and my son had so much in common, because I was reading about him when I saw the funeral. I didn't even realize that the funeral hadn't taken place as yet. So both him and my son, both of them were born in Trinidad. Both of them were athletic. Both of them were living overseas. Lendo, I believe, went to Queen's Royal College. My son went to St. Mary's College. What are the odds that two bright, shining stars out of Trinidad and Tobago at age 29, not too long after the 29th birthday? And when I looked at his birthday, he was born 11 days before my son. He was born on October 28th. My son was born on November 7th, 92. And Dion Lendo passed on January the 10th. And my son passed on January 16th. And then reading all of that on Thursday night, it was so eerie. But again, you just never know. There's this view, you have to live life like it's your last. But you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared. Allah in the Quran refers to our day of judgment as being handed a book which has your record of deeds. And that's how the judgment from God takes place. It's a record of your deeds. And Surah 100 in the Quran talks about our balance of deeds. It's like a bank account. And Allah says, and for him whose measure of good deeds is heavy, he shall enjoy a pleasant life. And as for him whose measure of good deeds is light, the abyss shall be his mother. And what will make you understand what the abyss is? It is a painful chastisement. So at every moment, our deeds of good must outweigh our deeds of evil, so that our balance of deeds on the day of judgment can be favorable. Because you just never, ever, ever know. And if anyone were to try to predict that, it's impossible to try to predict something like that. 2 29-year-old men suffering accident. Deion Lender died in a car accident in Texas. You know, my son drowned. So it's impossible to ever know anything like that in advance. It's impossible. But think about what will happen later today. Think about what will happen tomorrow. And think about what will happen next week. That is totally unpredictable right now. Those 4 men, the divers who were sucked into that pipe, I mean, even that, the fact that they would have died underwater, like my son, you're constantly bombarded with all of these memories. And I feel the pain of those families. Again, who would have dreamt that something like that would have happened? Okay, none of us could or would. But prepare yourself, I'm saying, for what will happen within the next few days. That would be impossible to speculate right now. Okay. Let's go back to the phone lines. 342-0081-466-5391. Caller, good morning.
Good morning to my brother.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
I listening to you and I'm watching the event. And I'm asking, why is it why it is that these people is so insecure in the world? Because the kind of weapon I see that is coming out, and I never taxpayer money they taken to make this kind of weapon to destroy money, fighting for God's land, the land of the Almighty. That is why the Bible tells the heart of man is desperately wicked. Evil dwells within the heart of men. Because I never see the kind of, if they take that money and feed people on the earth, we will be living so peaceful and so comfortable on the earth. But why they so insecure is the evil that they did before. And they are fearful. People come after them. I asked them, I said, well, what is going on in this world? What it is? Why? Why God created heaven and earth and God didn't make a gun? God didn't make a gun and you telling me to believe in science? You tell me believe in science, follow the science? Then, man, when I see that, I said, no, human killing, God creation is destroying, The fight for God land, nobody could carry this land. How much people gone before them already? And land still here, and they will go and live it too. But when they face up with the Almighty, they cannot answer, They will never be able to answer. And I'm talking to Africans, why Africans will go keep themselves in line? That is not their business. Now we see that they fight so much. They fight all other ways so much. They're fighting between themselves, stand back and watch them. Stand back and watch them. Don't get into it. Because I know what Russia is trying to do is what the American and them undo. So he's trying to put it back into order. That's what I'm saying. And they wouldn't tell people that. They're only talking about Russia. Russia is the baddest thing. They did everything that is right and they did. He I follow. Have a blessed morning, my brother.
Thank you, my brother. I'm having a problem answering one of the phones. But caller, good morning. Yes, good morning. Go ahead.
All
right, yes, sir. Yes, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Much about what I was going to talk about Russia. But you remember some years ago, and I'm going back to years now, I think I was about a little baby when Russia tried to set up a military base in the US and Cuba. What that ended up to be.
Yeah, that was the Cuban Missile Crisis, 1962.
Vice versa, same thing.
Yeah, same thing. 90 miles away. America said, because this base is 90 miles away from the coast of Florida, that it is a military threat.
Right. And America did what they had to do.
But look, they invaded Grenada based on a rumor that and listen, let me tell you something. I have the clip. I think I played it on this program. I have the clip of President Ronald Reagan addressing the people of the United States of America from the White House, where he is saying, don't be fooled. This tiny island of Grenada is planning a missile attack against America with the Russians. And because the Cubans helped build the Maurice Bishop Airport. Yeah. And so Ronald Reagan in his dreams figured that, okay, so because they're building this airport, what they're really planning to do is launch a missile attack against America. That's so crazy. And that justified them invading Grenada.
That's Brother David. You put all kind of sanction on Russia now. You sanction them in sports.
Oh, God. Did they sanction, did FIFA ban USA when they invaded Iraq, Afghanistan?
Israel has been infringing the people of Palestine since I know myself. Infringing them. You see it every day. Up to the day before yesterday, I post up something where Israeli chicken and shell in the face, to take it off our Facebook. Israel ever get sanctioned from in sport? When the Palestinian people start to protest about it, when they go to play sport, they say, don't bring politics, don't bring this politics in sports. No, you see in FIFA. Bringing politics in sports.
No, but it's part of FIFA's constitution that if a football federation gets involved in politics, that they can be banned.
Banned? Well, okay. No, what am I saying? FIFA putting sanction, but I hear Putin, I read that article, Putin say, hey, if me play the World Cup, if you have no World Cup, I don't know how true it is. And plus two, I'm plus two, right? And I was telling you on your WhatsApp.
Okay, good. Right? I saw that though, but good. But send it still.
And on top of that, on top of all of that, you understand? All who feel connected to Putin, the sanction and never look. The man has to sell Chelsea football club. I believe somebody from Turkey by
Roman Abramovich.
And you have to sell Chelsea.
Yeah, sad.
I cannot see. And again, as I was saying right before we get cut off last time, African brothers in Trinidad and Tobago and sisters supporting USA, they're supporting Ukraine, they respond to uniform and one fight war in the Middle East. Nothing to know about killing innocent women, they're killing innocent children. You understand? People who never oppressed the ancestors. We're fighting with people who oppress the ancestors and still oppressing me. I'm still oppressing me. You understand?
That's why I will always love Colonel Muammar Gaddafi of Libya, because when they were bidding for the World Cup to be held in Africa, remember when the World Cup was in South Africa?
Yes.
In 2010. Yes. Libya was under consideration, and Colonel Gaddafi said, sure, we would love to host the World Cup for as long as Israel is not playing. Well, that was it for that bid, right? that bid went straight through the window, right there.
Israel violating for years, and Israel never they violate all human rights, all international law against the Palestinians. It's at a time a Palestinian for the Brazil Olympics have to pass through Israel to enter to go to that, and he cannot pass. He cannot go across the border. And you telling me here today, right? Whatever Russia do with Ukraine, they have a long history, a very long history. People don't know nothing about that history of Russia and Ukraine. Today,
and Poland,
we're going on with Russia and Ukraine, you understand? Or they are going to start sanctioning the people and them. You understand? But here, when Israel don't know that Putin, or they could put war sanction on Putin. what sanction Putin is standing long just to know. And you know why the season and playing embargo and all these friends and them and the coast are right because they don't know where wealth is. Yesterday I'm saying them they don't know where Putin wealth is. So that's why one of the reasons they want to believe that sanction is going against all the close friends and the oil call them oil butchers or something. Yeah. Because they don't know where his wealth is.
Oil tycoons.
Right. But they seize one boot somewhere in France. He up in France. Yeah, some of the next one in Monaco and see going on the thing after high tail it out of Monaco. You're going to come in and seize the one too. But David, I'm just watching.
Yes, my brother.
I'm just watching the hypocrisy of the people in the West. And I'm watching the hypocrisy of the African brothers and Trinidad in Trinidad and Tobago who's standing up for Ukraine. Why that African sister can't get on a train to leave Ukraine? I'll look out and listen.
Thank you, my brother. Let me say a very special good morning to Miss Jocelyn Simmons, who's listening. That's Zola's mom. Miss Jocelyn Simmons, I wish you a very, very pleasant weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in. Caller, good morning.
Morning, David. Brother David.
How you doing, Soldiers?
Hi there. Brother David, the whole thing about, you see the first half where you was talking about Brother David, that is so critical, you know, and hearing that how the black people continue to be victimized. And Brother David, I think it will even be worse when you hear America fall, because that's in the Bible, America will fall, and for this new world order to take place. But the new world order, according to Revelation, it would not be very long, after 2 years. And you see, that is for black people to get to know thyself. Because no matter what, we don't want to know who is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, the conquering land of the tribe of Judah, the Christ of Nazareth. You see, his philosophy to me is democracy, a form of diplomacy. And the Jews wanted a Barabbas kind of philosophy, like what Barabbas was portraying. Aggression. To me, the Russians, they're portraying that as a normal thing where they're custom, which is like a custom, is a way of life. The Romans, you know, and them, they all they seek is army. And they believe as long as the army be victorious, they have domination, you know, upon the earth, because they wouldn't left one province to come and rise and they make sure they censor the world. And that's what's going on with America, right? And now, what happened? Because they believe the other European nations is a threat, but even all the European nations come together, you know. But they're so smart. They're doing this thing technical that we're making people feel that they are against one another. None of them are against one another. They just have an agenda to reduce the youth population, unknowing to the people with biological warfare and war itself. You see what China do? China lead the way because they're part of the society. They lead the way in the biological warfare. Now, Russia, they're leading the way in the military warfare, but those things stopping there. That is why they're monitoring the Caribbean and all over the place where they say it have American naval base. So when they come and mass up America now, they feel they will have the right to come and bombard all the way. America had their base. And all that is just tragedy, Brother David. And if you're monitoring global affairs properly, you hear what I'm saying, you will understand diplomacy is what they do want from African people because it will dominate and conquer the earth. It is a platform to take over the earth. That is Jesus Christ, his philosophy of diplomacy, and it's really a form of democracy. It's where they get democracy from. You know what I'm saying? But they realize now the black people could get civil rights, could stand up for rights and freedom in a system of democracy. But they don't want people to have that, so they want to change back to this kind of communist kind of little life. You understand? Where that nobody had no rights about the kind of way. You have to down to the European people. They don't really want that. You know what I'm saying? They don't want that because it's like it's like going backward. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to go back in the Garden of Eden, Brother David. The Garden of Eden is first diplomacy. Then forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Then there's nothing like that. All them things the government and what I would be talking about. You know, what's the whole system of government, right? It's barbaric kind of brute force kind of thing. That is slavery, that is the bondage of Satan, deception upon the earth. You hear what I'm saying? The trend of the adversaries of Satan, which is the European nation, the Canaanites, they have a curse to kill, steal, and destroy, and they're portraying it. You hear what I'm saying? But they have the blessing to discern things that like God left them for some reason or the other. We must admit that. But we now have the nature, the spirit, the spiritual energy come first. That will create life. It creates matter.
Yeah. Thank you, Soldier Ants. Thank you so much. Caller, good morning.
A pleasant good morning to you, Dr. Mohammed.
Greetings, blessings, good morning.
Oh, yeah. A nice morning, even though it's rain. Nevertheless, time is against us. Let me add my 2 cents. Now, with all that is happening with Russia and Ukraine, it's sad to say, out of ill-gotten gains, I am now asking the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago to answer to the citizens. I'll tell you what. The last budget was read at $65 a barrel. Oil was at $2.50. And as we well aware, with what's happening, the volatility and all that is taking place with the energy sector, as we speak, oil is $110 a barrel. So I wait to hear from the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Energy, and the Prime Minister. It is time to open back the construction sector. Because if you have all this money coming in, and it's sad to say, on the back of ill-gotten gains, we can't do anything about that. And I have not heard from the Energy Minister in addressing all other matters what you will do for the citizenry. And let me go where the air is rare. I hope that in your constituencies like Laventille, Beetham, Silas, these people have never abandoned you 65 years now. And I am saying, this is not politics, but this is dealing with the raw reality. Please, I am making a clarion call, even via your program, to even call you into, because you are assisting these communities. And I'm saying here, it's not an attack, but we got to face back. Oil is over $110 a barrel. Because the last budget, yes, let's face it, brother, doctor, is the fact. It's a bitter pill to swallow. And I wait to hear from the Prime Minister what he is going to do for these communities, these African communities, for 65 have not abandoned the people movement. You have money in your hands. And I make a clarion call on all these constituencies. Call out your MP and ask them what they're going to do with the spoils from the spin-off of Russia and Ukraine war. As we speak, doctor, I show you is monitoring it. They're making a guesstimation that it could reach to $120 a barrel. And knowing our budget was 65. Come on, Mr. Prime Minister. Get to these African constituencies. Start massive construction and turn around the economy. Tabak it out enough.
Thank you. And you do make a good point there, because on occasion when there's global conflict, involving oil-producing countries, it tends to benefit Trinidad and Tobago's economy. I saw a movie that was based in the 1970s the other day. I think it's called Licorice Pizza. Awkward name for the film, but in it was based in the early 1970s, and part of the film had portrayed the oil crisis, just in the background. It wasn't about that, but they showed, it would have been around 1973, they showed cars running out of gas on the highway, people walking long distances with little canisters to put gasoline in their cars, and the shortages that were all over America. That was a time that was a boom for us, because one of the reasons that we had an oil boom in Trinidad and Tobago was because of one of the so-called 6-day wars with Israel and the oil-producing nations, and Israel's encroachment on some of the surrounding oil-producing Muslim countries, and the support that America always gives to Israel. So while that was a crisis, major crisis for many countries around the world, for us it was a period of prosperity. And so some of the Europeans are trying to be condescending about the Russians, saying that Russia is nothing but a big gas station. That's all that they have, oil and gas, and they're trying to figure out ways. But interestingly, I think it was the day after the first attack took place that Russia made $700 million in selling oil to the same people who are against Russia. So that's how it goes. But stay tuned to Street 919 FM. I'll be back on next week, Saturday morning. Look for me on social media. May Allah continue to bless you. Assalamu alaikum.